Next on Currents News, Pope Francis speaks out as the sex abuse crisis swirls around the church. His words are next.
A parish in Queens is hosting a holy hour to pray for victims of clergy sexual abuse and the future of the Catholic Church. I'm Tim Harfman, and I'm standing by.
The final farewell for Senator John McCain is now underway, the latest from his home state of Arizona. Plus, a dramatic life and death race to save the life of a child. The news starts right now. Hi, I'm Michelle Powers. Liz Faublas is off tonight. Pope Francis made his first public appearance today since a high-ranking church official called on him to resign. The Holy Father didn't speak about that, but he did describe how the pain and bitterness of the clerical abuse crisis impacted his visit to Ireland. In his first public appearance at the Vatican since his weekend in Ireland, Pope Francis again addressed the issue that dominated his papal trip.
My visit to Ireland, despite the great joy, also had to bear the pain and bitterness of the suffering caused in that country by various forms of abuse, even by members of the Church, and the fact that the Church authorities in the past have not always been able to adequately address these crimes.
The Holy Father's general audience different this morning amid a re-emerging international scandal of sex abuse in the church and reports detailing decades of inaction across the globe, especially in the United States, Chile, and Australia. For years, Ireland has suffered from its own battle with clerical abuse. On the island, Pope Francis was met with protesters and many people who no longer believe in the church. Still, the Holy Father said today he pushed Irish bishops to keep on.
In my meeting with the bishops, I encouraged them in their endeavours to remedy the failures of the past with honesty and courage, trusting in the Lord's promises and counting on the profound faith of the Irish people to begin a new stage of renewal of the Church in Ireland.
In a statement published shortly after the Holy Father met with those Irish bishops, a top Vatican diplomat, Archbishop Carlo Vigano, released serious but unsubstantiated allegations that the Holy Father knew of now disgraced Theodore McCarrick's sexual abuses of seminarians. In an 11-page testimony, Vigano said he believes the Pope did not punish McCarrick, but instead lifted sanctions previously imposed by Pope Benedict, thereby empowering McCarrick to help choose powerful American bishops. Vigano has even called for the Pope to resign, alleging Pope Francis knew from at least June 23, 2013, that McCarrick was a serial predator. Although he knew that he was a corrupt man, he covered for him to the bitter end. Speaking to reporters on the flight back to Italy, Pope Francis said Vigano's statement speaks for itself, that people should read it carefully and make their own judgment.
Attentamente il comunicato e fate voi il vostro giudizio. Io non dirò una parola su questo.
Today, the Pope again stuck to his words, mentioning only how touched he was when talking with the Irish survivors of clerical abuse.
Un segno profondo.
My meeting with 8 of the survivors has left a profound mark, and on many occasions I begged the Lord for forgiveness for these sins, the scandal, and the sense of betrayal.
The Holy Father is not considering resigning, according to reports in the Italian media, but the same news accounts claim Francis is embittered by the Vigano allegations against him. In the Brooklyn Diocese, parishioners at Blessed Virgin Mary Help of Christians Church in Queens are about to conduct a holy hour of reparation to ask God's forgiveness for the evil that still lurks within the church. Currents News' Tim Harfman is standing by in Woodside. Tim.
Michelle, parishioners here have mixed emotions, sadness and anger, sorrow and hope. Earlier today, I spoke to some of them who are volunteering at the parish's food pantry. John Gawley has strong feelings about the church's handling of the clerical sexual abuse crisis.
It's despicable, and I hope that the church cleans it up. They have to clean house. They can't have the members of the church looking at this and it hasn't been addressed and taken care of all these years.
That's why parishioners at Blessed Virgin Mary Help of Christians Church believe tonight's holy hour is special. to ask for God's forgiveness for the evil that still exists within the church.
I'm glad for it, grateful for it. We do have regular exposition, but this being specifically for this, I think it's important. I think some of us minimize the power of prayer, but I think that's where we need to begin.
It's a good time for it, and it's a good group thing. It's good for the community to be able to get together and do that.
Hopefully that the people come out, they will pray, and hopefully our prayers will be answered.
They're also praying for the future of the church and the faith.
Hopefully people will recognize that our relationship with God is not based on the priests that have created this nightmare and on the people that have allowed it. Our relationship with God needs to be above that.
And the Holy Hour is taking place tonight because it is the feast of the Passion of St. John the Baptist, who was imprisoned and executed for speaking out against the sexual sins of King Herod. In Woodside, Queens, Tim Harfman, Currents News. Michelle, back to you.
The pastor of Blessed Virgin Mary Help of Christians, Father Christopher O'Connor, will be here in moments to tell us more about the Holy Hour and an upcoming town hall that's still ahead in this newscast. In the Brooklyn Diocese, there are many important measures in place to prevent abuse. The Office of Victim Assistance helps individuals who come forward with allegations of abuse. The office provides counseling, referrals for therapy, and other resources. Every employee of the diocese, including students, undergo mandatory training to prevent and identify abuse. Bishop DiMarzio meets with survivors and listens to their requests. And the diocese holds a yearly Mass of Hope and Healing, which they suggested. The allegations from Archbishop Vigano that Francis turned a blind eye to the Theodore McCarrick case are unsubstantiated. The Holy Father himself hasn't responded directly, instead challenging reporters to investigate. Vigano, in his so-called testimony, described an encounter he had with Francis at the Vatican. It took place in 2013 at a gathering of papal ambassadors. Vigano wrote the Pope wanted to greet each one by one, and they approached in single file. I was among the last. I just had time to say to him, I am the nuncio to the United States. He immediately assailed me using these words: the bishops of the United States must not be idealized. They must be shepherds. There is video retrieved from Vatican TV that shows the two men shaking hands but cuts off when Francis speaks to Vigano. Catholic News Service, which published the video, said they did not edit it. Tonight, Archbishop Vigano is said to be in hiding and in fear for his life. Veteran Vatican journalist Edward Penton broke the story of Vigano's accusation against the Pope. Now Penton is saying Vigano has gone underground. Chicago Cardinal Blaise Cupich is ratcheting up his support for the Pope, picked by Francis to lead the Archdiocese. Now he's saying the contents of the Vigano document are, quote, a rabbit hole the church should not go down. The Pope has a bigger agenda to worry about, including protecting migrants and the environment. And the Pope's critics also don't like him because he's a Latino. Hundreds of priests from the Boston Archdiocese met with their Cardinal, Sean O'Malley, at a critical time. He's involved in questions over a letter sent to him about the McCarrick case, while an abuse investigation is underway at Boston's main seminary. Mike LaCrosse heard from some of the priests attending the meeting late Tuesday afternoon.
People got out their fears, their anxieties.
300 priests from all over the Archdiocese of Boston leaving a private midday prayer meeting with Cardinal Sean O'Malley at St. Julia Parish in Weston. Some calling it emotional, others saying it was hopeful.
It was an acknowledgement of reality, of failures of the past.
The priests were met by a handful of protesters.
Just as long as you don't paint all of us with that same brush.
Some even stopping to hear their concerns.
I wanted to greet these people, let them know that they are part of the people of God.
Today's meeting comes amid an investigation involving allegations of abuse at St. John's Seminary in Brighton, and as reports surfaced that Cardinal O'Malley received a letter tipping him off to allegations of abuse by D.C. Cardinal Theodore McCarrick.
For this to still go on is absolutely insane.
Some are calling for the Cardinal and even the Pope to step down.
Cardinal Sean O'Malley, you had to have known about these things. You've been too high up in the church hierarchy.
It's time for transparency so the victims can try to heal.
We can't remain stagnant. We have to pick up the pieces and move on.
The priests are standing by their leaders, but agree with critics more must be done.
We need to not only be willing to talk with God's people, the people that we serve, but also to be willing to take action.
Cardinal OMalley has apologized about the McCarrick letter, saying he never saw it because the 2015 correspondence was handled by an aide. The Bishop of Springfield, Illinois, is calling on the Pope to open up all the files related to the Vigano accusations against the Pope and how he handled the McCarrick case. Bishop Thomas Paprocki argued that what the Holy Father has said so far is not enough. Pope Francis, Vatican officials, and the current apostolic nuncio should make public the pertinent files indicating who knew what and when about Archbishop McCarrick. The Pope's comment that young gay children might seek psychiatric help has been scrubbed from the transcript. The Vatican making the official change after Francis, on the flight back from Ireland, answered a question on what he'd tell parents of a gay child.
Tu sei mio figlio, tu sei mia figlia, come sei. Io sono tuo padre e tua madre. Parliamo. E se voi, padre e madre, non ve la cavate, chiedete aiuto, ma sempre nel dialogo, sempre nel dialogo.
The Vatican frequently cleans up the Pope's off-the-cuff remarks. There's a lot more news headed your way, honoring Senator John McCain in his home state, the latest from Phoenix, and startling news from Puerto Rico about the deadly devastation of Hurricane Maria. Do you have a story idea? Is something happening in your parish we should know about? We want to hear from you. Keep this email handy, newstips@desalesmedia.org. Email us. We'll be right back. The first of 5 days of memorials for Senator John McCain is underway. Between now and his burial on Sunday, the American war hero will be honored by former presidents, Senate colleagues, and the people who loved him. Karen Kaifa is in Phoenix with the latest.
John McCain believed in America.
The people who elected Senator John McCain to office over a span of 35 years are honoring one of their favorite sons today. Arizona residents lining up to pay their final respects to the political giant at a public viewing at the Arizona State Capitol, where McCain will lie in state. It's the first formal memorial for the war hero turned political icon. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey highlighted McCain's lifetime of service to his country.
His talk of country first wasn't simply a slogan on a yard sign. It was what John McCain had done and demonstrated.
John Kyle, who served alongside McCain in the Senate as the junior senator from Arizona, talked warmly about McCain's presence on Capitol Hill.
I consider it a great privilege to have served with John, and I will miss him as a friend and as a strong force for America in the world.
And finally, a benediction from current Arizona Senator Jeff Flake, who says he saw McCain as a mentor.
We are grateful for his life and for his sacrifice.
McCain's wife Cindy and his family led the procession and welcomed family and friends to the viewing. In the afternoon and evening, Arizona residents will have their own opportunity to say goodbye.
He was very well respected in the Senate, and we really appreciate his work.
A fitting first tribute by those who he represented and those who will miss him most. In Phoenix, Karen Kaifa, Current News.
Fans are lining up to get one last glimpse of the Queen of Soul. Aretha Franklin's casket arrived at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit for a 2-day public visitation. Mourners traveled from all over to pay their respects to the music legend. Franklin's star-studded private funeral is scheduled for this Friday. Stunning news tonight on how many people died because Hurricane Maria tore across Puerto Rico last year. The governor of the American territory has changed the number. Andy Rose reports.
Puerto Rico's governor announced a revised death toll from Hurricane Maria in 2017 of 2,975, 46 times higher than the government's previous count. His decision was based on an independent study from George Washington University. The official death count released by the Puerto Rican government in December 2017 had been just 64 people.
We are, even though it is an estimate, we are officially changing or we are actually putting an official number to the death toll. We will take the 2,975 number as the official estimate.
The governor also says he signed an executive order to have a commission begin working on the study's recommendations to improve public health and safety to better prepare for natural disasters. The White House is responding to this change with a statement saying the federal government has been and will continue to be supportive of Governor Rossello's efforts to ensure a full accountability and transparency of fatalities resulting from last year's hurricanes. Maria was the first Category 4 hurricane to directly impact Puerto Rico in 85 years. It struck on September 20th as the island was still recovering from Hurricane Irma 2 weeks earlier. I'm Andy Rose reporting.
Some Californians felt the ground shake late last night. A 4.4 magnitude earthquake struck a large part of Los Angeles Tuesday. Seismologists said it was the largest quake in the metro area in 3 years. The U.S. Geological Survey said their alarms went off 3 seconds before the tremor, warning them of the shaking about to come. President Trump is going after tech companies once again.
I think Google is really taking advantage of a lot of people, and I think that's a very serious thing, and it's a very serious charge. I think what Google and what others are doing, if you look at what's going on at Twitter, if you look at what's going on in Facebook, they better be careful because you can't do that to people.
The commander-in-chief claims to have received thousands of complaints about political bias on social media. 160 undocumented immigrants have been arrested in North Texas. ICE raided a trailer manufacturer after Homeland Security issued search warrants for the business. Investigators were tipped off the company may have hired them knowingly. Still to come on Current News, the race to save the life of a child. The infant had stopped breathing. I speak with Father Christopher O'Connor. His Queens Parish is conducting a holy hour of reparation to beg forgiveness in the face of evil. We'll be right back. Father Christopher O'Connor is the pastor of Blessed Virgin Mary Help of Christians Church. He joins us now. Father, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
There's a lot of pain, sadness, and anger going on right now. Tell me about that.
People are just very upset with the recent revelation of ex-Cardinal McCain, and then also the Pennsylvania grand jury report. And then there's this frustration, like, aren't we done? What's been done? And they feel betrayed a lot by the leadership in the church. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot of anger and fear.
A lot of fear.
Fear, because where's the church going? What's going on? And it's they feel there's a disconnect sometimes between them and the hierarchy.
Mm-hmm. Now another question. Tonight you have the Holy Hour of Reparation. What are you hoping comes out of that service?
Well, my point was, well, I got this from prayer. I thought the Lord was asking me to do this, and particularly on this feast day, St. John the Baptist, on his martyrdom, and bring people together and chances to be a family and pray together for the church and pray particularly for reparation for those harmed by sex abuse within the church. And hopefully by our prayers we can help bring about change.
So you found yourself praying and you think God told you to do this?
Oh, I was praying because the weekend after the Pennsylvania grand jury, I knew I had to preach. So I told the other priest that I would be preaching at all the masses. And I was praying before the Blessed Sacrament in the Rectory Chapel, and Lord, what do you want me to do? And I've been reading a lot of other blogs and reports, and so I came up with 3 things. And one was to start the St. Michael Archangel prayer after every Mass, and then the Holy Hour reparation, because I think that's something like I could do that, and people would come out and they could pray and then listen to music, and we're going to pray Divine Mercy Chapel together. And I think this is a great way for a family to come together.
Now, another thing you're doing is the town hall, which is on Wednesday, September 5th. You'll host a parish town hall meeting, and you'll be moderating it.
Right.
What will that be like? What do you expect people to say?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I got the idea from another blog I read, and it's just people an outlet to express what they're feeling. So what I want to do first is try to explain what we have done in the Diocese of Brooklyn, so they know like nothing's not been done. I want them to know we have been doing things to protect children and reach out to victims and so forth. Your part, hear what they want to say and give them a chance. Well, sometimes people just need to talk. And if they want to yell, let them yell. If they want to scream, let them scream. If they just want to ask questions, say what's going on, or they don't understand. Or if you want to ask questions, how does the church work? There's some opportunity just to ask questions and let them feel like their voice has been heard. And any major stuff that I think the bishop should hear, then I will relay that to him.
Right. Now, another question I have, you said the scandals hurt even more because priests should be a reflection of Christ and not Satan. Tell me about how this has affected you personally. You wear a collar.
I have not got any bad feedback. Even back in 2002, I remember I was walking the streets of my former parish, and a police car pulled up. And then say, hey guys, and the guy say, hey Father, don't worry, keep your chin up. And I was like, what do you mean? He says, we know what it's like when one of our guys does a bad thing, we all look bad. We know he's a good priest out there. So I've gotten more support. I've gotten a lot of messages, emails, people stopping me saying, we love you, we love our priests. Say they know it's not everybody.
Right.
But anytime a priest hurts somebody, it hurts us all. I mean, it hurts the church. And I want people to encounter Jesus for me, because we're supposed to be acting in the person of Christ as a priest. You know, it's not about being a cool priest or a great priest. It's about a priest that brings people to Jesus. And that's all I want for my people.
Right. Thank you so much, Father, and thank you for being here with us.
No problem. Thank you.
The race was for life as an infant was on the brink of death. The outcome of the frantic rescue attempt is reported by Kara Finstorm.
That's an emotional image.
Captain Richard Harpham is speaking about this video. It shows Deputy Tyler Milton cradling a baby during a desperate rush to save the little boy's life.
Certainly when you have a 9-month-old that's not breathing, everybody jumps into action.
Just about 10 minutes earlier, near the 91 in Bellflower, Deputy Milton had stopped the baby's frantic parents for driving erratically. They were looking for the hospital. He knew there was no time to waste.
Deputy Milton sprung into action, grabbed the 9-month-old, summoned help from other deputy sheriffs.
Move! 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 Move your car! You can hear the urgency in that person's voice as deputies rush towards Long Beach Memorial with sirens blaring. In the passenger seat of one patrol car, Deputy Milton held the lifeless baby on his lap and did CPR. The baby's mother was in back with another deputy, Alyssa Farrington, behind the wheel.
So they got on the radio, got a hold of other units. They blocked intersections going all the way down.
Long Beach police immediately sealed off streets too. Minutes later, that dramatic video was captured. Deputy Milton jumped out of the car with the baby in his arms. Only now, thanks to him and his fellow deputies, the little boy was again breathing.
So what a heroic and life-saving action.
Captain Harpham says as a father and a grandfather himself, he couldn't be prouder of his deputies.
I just can't thank them enough, and I think we all should thank them.
Tonight, the child is resting at the hospital in stable condition. We send the family and our rescuers our prayers. That is Currents News. Thank you for joining us. I'm Michelle Powers. Follow me on Twitter. Set your DVR to record this program so that you never miss it, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.